Hello there, this is Onion Creature. It's extremely hot out, I'm afraid to say. Today I have a glorious follow-up video to my top 10 3DS video. It's a top 10 3DS eShop video. Yet again, a few ground rules and a minor correction to make from the last video. The games included on this list are games which were released primarily as digital games in North America. If they released day and date physically in Japan, that does not disqualify them from the list. And if there was a physical version released significantly after the initial digital release date, it is still eligible. With that said, that would make Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix from the previous video eligible for this list, not the last list. Check out the previous video to see my thoughts on Rhythm Heaven Megamix, which was an honorable mention. With that fun bit of information out of the way, I believe we can now start the list. Let's go through our honorable mentions first. There's some fun ones there as well. Today I'm going to be ranking the top 10 Nintendo 3DS eShop games. Similar to the retail 3DS list, I'm only going to be including one game per series, just to keep the list more varied and interesting. You know, I am a big Kirby fan, and there were a lot of Kirby eShop games. I also did go out of my way to try to include a few third-party games. I did see some people take note that my retail 3DS top 10 list was severely lacking in third-party games, which is true. That's simply a byproduct of me largely playing first-party Nintendo games on the 3DS. First of all, let's go over some of the runner-ups. Pocket Card Jockey. This is one of the non-Pokemon Game Freak titles, and it's definitely one of the better ones. It's a weird horse racing themed version of Solitaire. I do find this game a bit frustrating because it feels like a lot of the time whether you win or lose is kind of out of your control. I mean, I guess that's the case with Solitaire as well. It's a bit of a random chance in Solitaire, but it's a very simplified version of Solitaire. The aesthetic is pretty good, pretty adorable looking horses, kind of charming NPCs. It does get repetitive after a while. There's also a Switch version, which is a port of an Apple Arcade version. That's also a great way to play it. It has updated visuals, and I think, I don't know, probably a few more features in there. It's very good though. I like it a lot, but it's not one I really feel like returning to that much. Fluidity Spin Cycle. This is a sequel to a WiiWare game, but you play as water in this game, and it's very cool because you flip the 3DS upside down and tilt it around to move the water, and it can take on different forms like ice or steam. So it's got quite a lot going for it. I think it's probably not the best fit for the 3DS specifically because you can't use the 3D effect all that well when you're like literally physically moving the system around. So the gyroscope and the 3D don't play that nicely together. But yeah, it's a nice puzzle game. Quite a lot of content in it. Quite a lot to do. Lots of collectibles if you really want to go out of your way to do that. Just a nice game. It does make me interested in playing that original Fluidity at some point as well. I also want to shout out at least one of the Kirby download titles that didn't make the list. There's a lot of 3DS download titles for the Kirby series, but the one that didn't make the list but was close to was Kirby's Blowout Blast. Basically a 3D remake of Kirby's Dream Land. Talked about it quite a bit recently in my Kirby ranking video, so check that out if you want a more in-depth discussion of some of that game's strengths. Harmonic Knight is a really great rhythm platformer by Game Freak. Probably their best non-Pokemon game that I can think of, at least. You go through a variety of different levels and use a variety of different moves to progress. So this is just a super charming game. I will say the music is good, but it's not the best music ever. So might have been nice if it was a little more high quality in that department, given that it's a rhythm game. But it's still really good and catchy, so it definitely works, but there's room for improvement in that. I doubt we're really ever going to get a sequel, doesn't seem super likely. This is one of the earlier 3DS eShop games I played. I played this when the 3DS was still my primary handheld console. So it's good stuff. It's got a little bit of Pokemon content in there, some bonus stuff, which is actually really difficult. That's like the hardest stuff in the game, is some of the extra Pokemon content. The game itself is actually reasonably challenging. Yeah, it's got a lot going for it. Very charming. Number 10, Attack of the Friday Monsters. This is a game I got when the 3DS eShop was being shut down because I'd heard really great things and had always wanted to try it. And glad I did. It's really unique. It's got these beautiful pre-rendered backgrounds, and you play as a wee lad, and you walk around in this rural Japanese town, and it just sort of switches camera angles, you know, like a PS1 game. Good 3D effect. The visuals are just really striking and beautiful. I think this is maybe the only level 5 game that I've played. It's very short. The gameplay is like a little card game thing with the other kids in the town, which is charming. It's not difficult or complex, but it's just super charming. It's very lighthearted and fun. Very short experience. Yeah. 9. Dr. Mario Miracle Cure. This is the Dr. Mario game I have played the most. Really solid version, just if you're playing the regular base gameplay. And then it's got some fun new additions with these power-ups that do a variety of things, which makes the endless mode a lot more fun to me. It's just classic, man. There's not too much more you can say about it other than it's a really great version of Dr. Mario. And it's weird that we haven't gotten any more since this one. This was after Dr. Luigi, and then since then all we've gotten from Dr. Mario is re-releases, and then the mobile game, which was like totally different type of gameplay, and they shut it off after a few years, so you can't even play that anymore. I feel like Nintendo could do a lot more with the Dr. Mario brand. Really, all we need is like a $15 eShop title. I think a ton of people would play that. Dr. Mario 99, we've already got a good framework from Tetris, so why not that? Number 8, Pushmo. Pushmo is one of the more well-known 3DS eShop titles, quite well-renowned. It's made by Intelligent Systems. There's a couple different sequels and a Wii U version. Kind of surprised this has never gotten past this era, never gotten past the 3DS or the Wii U, never got a Switch version, which is too bad, because the core gameplay is really fun. You pull out blocks and try and get to the top to rescue the lost little babies. Just a really great visual style, excellent puzzles. It's just really great, man. Number 7. VVVVVVV or whatever. How many goddamn V's are in there? I'm just gonna call it V when I talk about it, just to make it easier. Actually, I was thinking about it recently. One of my favorite indie titles. It's a 2D platformer, and the main gameplay is you switch gravity from up to down. That's the main gimmick. There's other additional things that appear. Something about this game is just really great. It's super replayable. I have it on 3 different systems. I've got it on Steam originally, then 3DS, then Switch. All 3 of which are great versions. I think the Switch one might have co-op in it or something. Either way, this 3DS one does actually have some 3DS specific features in that it's 3D, which is a great use of the effect. I guess there's not too much you can say about it other than it's a really great 2D platformer, and it's super challenging, but that's part of the fun. And the fact that when you die, you just immediately get back into the action. It helps with your motivation to keep going. You're like, all right, I died, but I'll just give it one more go till eventually you do get it. The Vendi, Vidi, Vici, whatever the hell part is classic video game platformer challenge, very iconic. Yeah, beautiful game, super challenging, but just pure fun. Number 6, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy. Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy is an absolute banger, one of my favorite story-based games. You play as Phoenix Wright, who is a lawyer, and you go through various different cases. The story in these games is awesome. The characters are very charming and wonderful. Excellent music. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, so probably don't need to say too much more, but hell yeah, that game's freaking sick. And I associate it heavily with the 3DS, as that is the first system I played it on. I played it digitally as it was a digital exclusive outside of Japan. Just gonna recognize this game because it's freaking awesome. Number 5. DDD's Drum Dash Deluxe. This is another game I have discussed at length, so won't take up too much time here, but it's the only Kirby game not starring Kirby or having him in the title at all, and it's a Kirby rhythm game, so that's also great. You know, check out my Kirby ranking if you want to see where it placed there and some more thoughts on it. Number 4, Mutant Mudds. This is a game I originally played on Nintendo Switch and then eventually did go back and played the 3DS version. And the 3DS is quite likely the definitive way to play this game because it takes great advantage of the 3D feature. This is another 2D platformer. Got quite a bit of those on the 3DS. Beautiful pixel art style, but the main gimmick is that you switch between the different planes. Got a great depth of field effect when you do that. It just looks amazing. And the gameplay is super fun. You move pretty slowly, but there's like a level of precision about the platforming. The way you defeat enemies and get collectibles is super satisfying. So it all just comes together super well. It's actually very fun to 100% this game. It's just very challenging, but well worth it in my opinion, because you just get this amazing dopamine hit from getting all the collectibles in a level. Love this game, and the 3DS version is probably the best one. This is definitely one of the indie games I associate most with the 3DS. 3. Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight, baby. Gotta love Shovel Knight. I played this when it came out. There was quite a lot of hype surrounding it, and I'm glad I did, because it's great, man. This is an NES-style platformer. The visuals are very faithful, but it does have modern flourishes, like a wider display and a parallaxing effect. Most of the color palette is from the NES, but they cheat a little bit, which is fine, because the end result just looks great, while still being very authentic. So it does thread the needle of having very obvious inspirations, but also making its own identity and becoming more than the sum of its parts. It's Mega Man inspired. It's got the world map from Mario Bros. 3. And yeah, it's just a tremendously fun game. The story's kind of nice too. It doesn't have a super deep story, but it's just satisfying. And then you also get tons of free campaigns that were added over the years. The original was Shovel Knight, which is just the classic one. Then you get Plague Knight, and I love the Plague Knight's campaign. It's a little bit of a shame because when they made Plague Knight's campaign, the plan was still to basically just add these boss characters as playable characters, give them like a little bit of a story and some exclusive content, but mostly keep it the same. So the levels are redesigned with Plague Knight's movement in mind a little bit, but it's mostly the same levels. Then later on, starting with the Spectre Knight campaign, they kind of made each of the campaigns their own thing and gave them a lot more new content and music and stuff like that. So Plague Knight is sort of like a slightly awkward half step in that direction. It does have exclusive bosses and a really nice story. I like the story in Plague Knight. It's quite charming. It happens parallel to Shovel Knight's campaign, so Shovel Knight shows up in it as a non-playable character, which is fun. Then after that, Spectre Knight's campaign, maybe the best one. Spectre Knight's movement is just super, super fun. The story's really good. This one's actually a prequel, so you get some cool backstory. Yeah, just amazing movement. They really decided to go all out with these DLC campaigns and just add tons of new stuff. And then King Knight's campaign was the last major one. Came alongside the battle mode, but the battle mode wasn't featured in the 3DS version, which I think that's fine. That would have been a lot of work, and at that point, the 3DS was not most people's primary console. So if you want to play that mode, there's tons of other ways to get Shovel Knight. But King Knight's campaign, I've got more mixed feelings on. It does have a lot of new stuff, and King Knight's movement feels great. He's very Wario inspired, if you've ever played any Wario games. And this is another prequel, and it's got a more comedic, funny story, which is fitting for the character. But they added this card game, and the card game, I think it's like slightly mandatory to play at least a little bit of it. And man, I hate when games add these goddamn card games. I played the minimum amount of this that I could because I did not find it that fun. There's quite a bit of depth to it, so if you want to get into it, you can. I just was not interested in doing that. Yeah, like things like Gwent and The Witcher, I'm just like, nah, I'm not gonna do that, sorry. It's just not happening. Like 9 times out of 10, I really don't want to play cards in these non-card games. I'll play cards when it's like Balatro or something like that where it's built around cards, but when it's a side mode, I'm like, nah, I'm not here for this, sorry. The 3DS specifically does have some content which was exclusive to it for quite some time. Of course, it being 3D, the 3D effect looks amazing. And then it also has Street Pass Arena, which is an arena where you fight Street Pass ghosts, which was really cool. Not that many indie games I can think of with better Street Pass utilization. They really took advantage of the feature quite well. Yacht Club Games is really good at that, of taking a console's feature and incorporating it. They did that with the Amiibo, which I believe are also compatible with this version, which is cool. Yeah, so Shovel Knight, total classic video game in general. And the 3DS version of it is, I think you could argue for it being one of the best versions, just because it has those exclusive features, which are being kind of added in like a Shovel Knight Plus thing they're doing, which is cool, but it's definitely not going to be the same as having it on the 3DS. That's definitely cool from a preservation standpoint that they're including that in a Shovel Knight Plus version. I can appreciate that, but I think nothing's ever really going to replace playing it on the original hardware. There was a physical version, but it was much later after the original release, which was $15, which is very cheap, and that obviously included all the free updates they did later. Yeah, man, can't say enough good stuff about this. Number 2, Steel Diver Sub Wars. Ha! I love Steel Diver Sub Wars. I've spoken about it at length multiple times. I think my passion for this grows stronger the further distance we get from it, which is, you know, potentially some amount of nostalgia or whatever. I just don't see enough discussion of this game. It is exceptional, actually. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna look something up right now. So I'm using this new site called Backlogged, which is basically a version of Letterboxd, but for video games. And the user rating for Steel Diver Sub Wars appalled me. It is at 2.4. What? What is going on, guys? What the hell? Okay, this like actually gets me kind of worked up a little bit. I don't know what it's at on other review sites. Let's look up Metacritic. This is pissing me off a little bit. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not saying people are wrong for like not caring about this game, but maybe I am saying that a little bit. Okay. See, this is like way more normal. So the critical reviews on Metacritic is at 70. Okay. I mean, not great. I feel like people are like, oh, if a game has a 70, that means critics hated it. It's like, oh, not really. I see that. I think people just think that because Metacritic makes it yellow if it's at 70. And it's like, if I play a game and it's a 7 out of 10, it's probably got a lot going for it. I don't know. Just my thoughts on rating systems, I guess. The user score is at 7.6, so that's pretty high. Like, that's way higher than 2.4. 2.4 would be like 2.4 times 2. No, wait, what am I doing? 2.4. Let me do math. 48, like a 4.8 average score, which is crazy, man. I can get not liking or caring about this game. I don't know what's going on at Backlogged that the users are like so harsh on this game. It's crazy, man. I'll admit I did leave my own rating to try and balance the scales a little bit, but I legitimately do think this is a 10 out of 10 game. It's just funny submarines, baby. It's a free-to-play title, so it does have paid content. You don't need to buy it, really. I do like the single-player modes, so that is worth buying. I think it's like 10. It was like $10, something like that back in the day, so not that expensive. But even with the free content, you get a great multiplayer experience, which is obviously now sadly shut down. I've talked about it in other videos. Some standout features are the use of Morse code in multiplayer, which is just funny, but also thematically appropriate. There's just some like meme stages, like a fish tank, a swimming pool, hot springs, alongside just the more grounded stages like an ocean, basically. Got quite a bit of charm to it. It seems highly unlikely that we're ever going to get another Steel Diver game, which is definitely a shame because I'm a fan of this game specifically. The original 2D Steel Diver is very forgettable and not that great. This one, though, they figured out how to make something with submarines that's cool and fun and unique, and it's a shame it's not remembered more fondly, because I think it deserves to be. Yeah, Nintendo getting into free-to-play games was a bit of questionable in general. People don't tend to like that. For good reason, because free-to-play is totally a slippery slope. and we've seen some really evil shit done with it. Even with Nintendo's own mobile games, like I think Mario Kart Tour is like really aggressive with its pushing of microtransactions on you. But this game is like way better than that because it doesn't have like the gotcha system. If you want to buy a submarine, you can. Like you could buy the Star Fox submarine. It's like, all right, I wanted that, I bought it. Cool, you're done. So it's not something you could sink thousands of dollars into. And I think it was just a good fit for the format because it's free-to-play kind of fit what this game was, because, you know, I think a lot of people might not have tried it out if it was a paid thing for just the base experience. So making it free to play gives you a wider player base, which did last for a while. Eventually, it basically became impossible to find online matches with randoms, which is too bad. But, you know, I got gushed about this enough. Not my top favorite 3DS eShop game, but it's very high up there, and I always love giving it a shout out whenever I can. Okay, number 1, Bye Bye Box Boy. Hell yeah. I debated which Box Boy to include. The first one is the most classic one. It introduces all the mechanics and stuff. Box Boy, I think is very good, but kind of it's a bit more of the same. You do have some unique puzzles with having 2 sets of boxes. This is a series that has lived on a little bit. It gets cameos in different Kirby games and certain UFO games, and there was a really great sequel on Nintendo Switch, Box Boy plus Box Girl. Anyway, Bye Bye Box Boy is, in my opinion, the peak of the series in terms of everything, essentially. The quote-unquote story, I mean, there's no dialogue, but there is a story that you can kind of keep track of. It's relatively abstract, but you can sort of piece together what's going on if you try to. This is the introduction of the little baby box boys, which are funny. I don't know, something about it feels like higher stakes. The fact that it's called Bye Bye Box Boy, it's completing this trilogy. The title screen has this dramatic, like, violin version of the Box Boy jingle, which honestly is pretty damn cool. What I really love is all the new mechanics that are added to this version for the different planets you go to. So you got teleportation, bombs, whole bunch of stuff like that, which add a lot of variety to the experience and are quite inventive and fun to learn how to use. I'm always the biggest Box Boy fan in the room, as tends to be the case, so it had to be at the number 1 spot, of course. I think Bye Bye Box Boy is the best Box Boy game on the system, and since I'm just doing 1 game per series, it had to be this one. We'll definitely shout out the previous 2 entries as also being great. It was really interesting to see how Laboratory tackle a more simplistic game after doing these more elaborate Kirby titles for so many years. Sort of brings it back to that Kirby's Dream Land vibe, or even Adventures of Lolo, where it's just simple, but also very fun. The difficulty curve on these games is pretty good because it starts off quite easy, but it's satisfying enough that I really enjoy it. And then eventually you get some quite tricky puzzles later in the game, which is, I think, is how obviously you do things. That's how difficulty curves generally should be. The way the Box Boy games handle it is quite good. That was my cool 3DS eShop list. Pretty happy with the list. There's definitely some bigger 3DS eShop titles that either didn't make the cut or I just simply haven't played. And, you know, that's just how it is, I suppose. Well, I may soon perish of heat exhaustion, so I'll let you go now. Thank you for watching the Top 10 3DS video. It was a barrel of goddamn laughs to make, and I hope it was at least half as much fun to watch. Fare thee well. Woohoo!